All right, so welcome to the deep dive. Today we are going deep into the world of music.
Ooh, backstage passes.
Yeah, exactly, like a backstage pass to understanding what music is all about and how it all comes together.
Yeah.
We're using a Year 6 music curriculum as our guide, which actually gets super in-depth on stuff like dynamics and pitch and tempo,
Mm-hmm.
like all the elements of music that sometimes you feel like you should understand, but maybe you don't.
Right.
So are you ready to unlock a whole new level of musical appreciation?
Absolutely. Let's dive in.
Okay, so this curriculum, it lays out like the building blocks of music.
It does. It talks about 7 key elements.
Okay, what are they?
Structure, texture, tempo, dynamics, timbre, pitch, and duration.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah. They all work together to create the final sound that we enjoy or sometimes don't.
Yeah, like ingredients in a recipe.
Exactly. They all contribute to the overall flavor of the music.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me more about how these elements come together to create those feelings we get when we listen to music.
Sure. Well, let's take texture, for example. A solo piano piece, it's got a very thin texture, right?
Yeah.
It evokes feelings of loneliness or reflection.
Right.
But when you have a full orchestra playing a huge symphony, the texture thickens and it creates a sense of grandeur or even chaos.
Right.
Composers use texture really strategically to play with our emotions. It's kind of like they're telling a story without using words.
That's so cool. I never thought of it that way. Like, there's a whole hidden language in music that I've been missing this whole time.
Yeah, absolutely.
This curriculum focuses heavily on classical music, and it even mentions a specific piece, Fingal's Cave by Mendelssohn. Can you tell us a little more about what makes classical music unique and why it's such a big deal?
Sure, classical music, especially from the period 1750 to 1825, is really interesting.
Okay.
It's all about melody and this interplay of different musical lines that we call counterpoint.
Okay.
Composers like Mendelssohn, they were absolute masters at using these elements to express really complex ideas.
I see.
And you mentioned Fingal's Cave. It's actually pretty cool how that piece came about. So Mendelssohn visited a sea cave in Scotland,
Wow.
and he was so inspired by it that he used music to capture the feeling of waves crashing against the rocks.
So he basically painted a picture, but with sound.
Yes, exactly. And that's the power of depiction in music. It's about using those sonic elements to evoke images, stories, emotions.
So that's how like a minor chord makes you feel sad or a super fast tempo makes your heart race.
Exactly. Music has this amazing ability to tap into our emotions.
Now that you mention it, I totally notice how my mood changes based on what I'm listening to.
Right.
It's like almost subconscious.
It is. It's very powerful.
Okay, so this curriculum also gives us this list of like key vocabulary words.
Yeah.
Like graphic score, improvise, conductor.
Mm-hmm.
Can you unpack those for us?
Sure. A graphic score is kind of like a visual representation of music.
Okay.
Instead of traditional notes, it uses symbols and images.
Oh, wow.
It makes music a lot more accessible for visual learners and for people who are interested in more experimental types of music.
So it's like reading music, but with your eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have improvise, which is all about creating music in the moment spontaneously.
Oh, wow.
Think of jazz musicians riffing off of each other, or even just, humming a melody in the shower.
Right.
It's about letting the music flow naturally.
Is there a trick to improvising?
Well, it takes practice and letting go of structure a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Then we have the conductor, the leader of the orchestra.
Okay.
Their job is to make sure all the musicians are in sync.
Right.
They're basically bringing the composer's vision to life.
It's like there's a whole language to music that I've never learned.
There is.
Okay, so why should we care about all of this as listeners? Why does it matter if we understand these elements?
Well, it's like having a secret decoder ring. Once you understand these elements, you can really appreciate what the composer was trying to do. You can recognize patterns. You can predict what might happen next.
I like that.
It turns you from a passive listener into an active participant.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
So instead of just enjoying music, I can actually understand why I'm enjoying it.
Exactly.
Wow, my ears are officially ready for a musical adventure.
That's great.
I feel like I can listen to anything now and really hear it in a whole new way.
That's the goal. Now that you're armed with all of this knowledge, try to really pay attention to tempo and dynamics and texture in the music that you hear.
Okay.
Try to see if you can hear the stories being told and the emotions that are being portrayed. It's a whole new world out there.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
It was my pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.